Welcome to the QBC podcast, where we explore new paradigms in health and science that have a meaningful impact on our day to day lives. I'm your host, Meredith Oak, a curious coach and mom. I started a journey to overcome chronic fatigue and found myself in a whole new quantum universe. I believe new research shouldn't stay locked away in an ivory tower, and that wisdom can be found in many places and understood by all of us. To keep in touch with this podcast, the QBC free community, our episode guide, and all the show notes, please visit qbcpod.com, qbcpod.com. Let's get together to create the future we all want to live in. So we are living really in such an interesting time. There are so many paradigm shifts going on, and we are all participating in those paradigm shifts. Every choice we make is, as you all know, we're part of the quantum field, and every choice we make is having a ripple effect and making a contribution to the wider field and ultimately to the reality that we are all in together. So the fact that we have all of this technology where we have all of these options of who to talk to and what to learn and who to listen to, and all of these new ideas to test and see if they feel true, see if they are true, it's a really fun time to be alive. And it's also can be a little daunting, a little confusing. And of course, there's always the pushback. I was just reading an anecdote of the first town to buy a printing press, and the businessmen who got together to fund the purchase of the printing press were run out of town by the scribes, because the scribes were so angry that they had brought in this newfangled machine to put them out of business. Because who is going to need a scribe when you had a printing press? And it was just a reminder that anytime there is a new idea, a new way of doing things, there's going to be hard pushback. And that is especially true in the health space right now. And the concept of quantum biology is getting a lot of traction. It's really picking up. There are more people studying it. There's more work being done. There are more breakthroughs being made. Like every week I see or read about something new, which is really cool, but it still really needs all of our support, because the piece that is often left a little bit to the side, even if a paradigm shift is successful, is the grassroots piece. How does this affect people on the ground? How does this affect people in their day-to-day lives? And the idea of applied quantum biology has so many simple, practical applications that it would be really sad if it just stayed in the labs and became something that people didn't realize had a personal impact on them. So if you are a practitioner or a coach and you want to participate in that and be really confident and grounded in the basic science of it, the Institute of Applied Quantum Biology certification registration is open. You can go to qbcpod.com and click over to the IAQB website, or go to iaqb.foundation and fill out an application form. This is the opportunity to really put into effect, to put into practical application the principles of this new science and what it means for people who actively need it in their day-to-day lives, and not have to make them wait for decades until a device gets patented or the information trickles into medical systems. Like, we could just learn it now and help people right now. And on that topic, I think a really overlooked piece of new paradigm communication comes from marketing. So we think of reading books and reading articles and finding people who have become experts in certain areas. And we forget that so much of our ideas are actually influenced by marketing. And entrepreneurs who take the risk to build products that rely on a new paradigm understanding, therefore have to, in order to succeed, educate the public about the new paradigm, right? Like, we all know we need shoes. We all know we need a phone. But how many of us know that if we are on screens at night, we should get blue blocking glasses? Not that many. And so I really want to acknowledge and show some love and appreciation to all of the entrepreneurs who are spending their lives building businesses that require that kind of education. Because yes, it's a business, but it's also an act of service. It's a lot easier to build a business on something where you make something that everybody knows they need. It's much easier, maybe a little more competitive because there's more people doing it. But to take that leap to start a business out of your bedroom selling blue blocking glasses when nobody in the world knows they need them because you've read the research and you know how important it is and you see the opportunity. Not a lot of people do that. My guests today did. They are Andy and Katie Mant, husband and wife, who started BonCharge out of their bedroom when they both had full-time jobs, and they grew it into the thriving business that it is today. And it's a global brand. You can buy it all over the world. And I'm happy to be partnered with them. They make really high quality products. But they are amongst, I would put them in that group of entrepreneurs who really did take that risk and who are willing to do the hard work of creating marketing that educates. So even if you don't end up buying their product, if you come in contact with these types of companies, you leave understanding something really important. And that is a huge service. So shout out to all the new paradigm entrepreneurs. I see you, appreciate you. And here is the story of BonCharge. Andy and Katie Mant, welcome to the QVC podcast.
Hey, how are you doing?
Hey, Meredith. Thanks for having us.
My pleasure. Andy, we had a great chat last time, and I'm super excited to do it again with Katie in the house.
Yeah.
As the two of you founded this company together. And Katie, I was actually just listening to you on a podcast talking about how you both, the two of you, started this sort of like out of your bedroom while you were both working other jobs. And you ordered these glasses and you were like, oh my gosh, this is so important. People really need these. And it just kind of took off.
That is so true.
Tell me a bit about, like, such a fun journey.
Yeah, do you know what? It is
Also,
a fun journey. And
yeah.
it's actually quite funny as well. It was leading up to our wedding, which is going on about 8 years ago now. Like any bride and groom, you're trying to get into the best physique for those photos. So we were like exercising more, dieting, just to sort of get the best physiques. And it was Andy that decided to look into sleep and how that impacts what you eat and your energy levels and how well that you work out at the gym. And he went down this rabbit warren, reading all the different scientific studies out there to understand how do you improve sleep. And then through that, learned that artificial blue light after dark can really impact your body's natural ability to produce melatonin. So Andy started off by ordering a pair of blue light blocking glasses off a well-known platform. They arrived and oh my gosh, I wish we took photos that I could share it with the community now. They were full on safety goggles and he would wear them in the evening watching TV. I thought he was mad. Honestly, I was like, what?
I have a pair like that. They're like the big square plastic orange.
Yes, like orange, like literally something out of a laboratory. So he's wearing these after work, and I was like, "You are a freak. What are you doing?" But his sleep did start to improve a little bit, so I was like, "Okay, there is something here." But the science know that Andy has kept delving deeper and deeper to understand. Well, why are they working, and why are they not profoundly impacting his sleep? They're only having a slight impact on it. Learned that there's very specific wavelengths that need to be blocked, not just generic blue light, the very specific wavelengths of blue and some green light. And then struggles to find any glasses that actually did block that. So long story short, we were like, there's an opportunity here to design something that's actually stylish that people would want to wear, because there's no way I'd go out to a restaurant wearing the glasses that he was wearing. That was the correct lens that actually did block the right frequencies to optimize sleep. And so the journey sort of evolved from there quite quickly, to be honest with you. Once we found out how to develop the lens and what needed to be done, the rest was quite smooth sailing, wasn't it, really? Reaching out to influencers and people that we were networked with to begin with to give them a pair to see if they could have a go and report back. And they all reported back how great they were and how much better than the original pair that they had. And so we just launched the brand and ran with it a little bit blind, I guess, in the beginning. Just thought, let's just do it and see. We still had jobs at the time, so it was a side hustle. So there was no sort of commitment or impact on us. It was just a side like passion project that quickly grew, that allowed us to then leave our day jobs and run it full time. And over the years now have grown it. We've got a team of about 35 staff now. So it's been an
That's crazy.
yeah.
I think it's good. I always say if I knew now what I knew at the beginning of any given project, I'm like, I would never have done it. We have to be a little blind to what we're getting ourselves into.
Just go with it. Go with your gut. Isn't
Yeah,
it? Go
just got to go for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Andy, if you could just, I know everyone listening, I know, but I really don't think that we can hear it too many times. Please, and you're so good at explaining it, Andy. So please tell us why do we need to block blue light at night?
Yeah, it's that double-edged sword, blue light. It's such a fantastic thing when used correctly and such a bad thing when used incorrectly. So I always like to go back to how we were ancestrally. Okay, so hundreds of thousands of years ago, we evolved as through our life cycle to human beings that we are now. But one thing that evolved all those hundreds of thousands of years ago was something called a body clock, a circadian rhythm, and it's a little tiny clock system that's in the middle of our brain. And what it does is it uses light to tell your body, your internal mechanisms, what time of the day it is. And why that's so important is it allows for certain hormones and neurotransmitters to either be released or suppressed. So as we lived ancestrally, we lived mainly outside, right? So we would get up in the morning hundreds of thousands of years ago with the rising sun. And what that would do is that would tell our body clock, our circadian rhythm, that it was daytime. And it knew this because the blue light would stimulate dopamine, serotonin, and cortisol, which are all really important for us to be active during the day. And we needed to be active during the day because we needed to go out to hunt, to gather, and to do what we used to do back in those days. Now, as we were outside all day, the sunlight actually changes in its spectrum gently throughout the day and into the evening. And all those little subtle changes in light was telling our circadian rhythm what time of day it was and to dial things down, dial hormones up, and just keep us really in hormonal bliss. And then as the sun set in the evenings, that would then signal to our clock system that, okay, blue light's going now. So the evening must be coming. We need to lower cortisol and we need to increase the hormone melatonin, which is our sleep hormone. And then we put the campfire on, we'd probably sit around there talking or eating, those types of things. And that would be in the presence of orange and red light, which has been shown in studies to help increase melatonin production, which is great. Then we would go to sleep and we wake up the next morning and that cycle would continue until we died of old age or were eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, whatever it might have been. But what we've done now is as we've evolved, when you go into say the 1700s and the 1800s, we still would have had that kind of rhythm and that kind of natural light cues. We didn't really have artificial light in those eras. We would have had, moved around the house with a lantern that was like a candle. We'd have had candlelight, firelight, things like that still exist. But it wasn't until recently that the governments and the companies, they invented something called LED lights. And what they did with these lights is they stripped out all the red light, most of the orange light, and they left in the blue light and some of the green light. And these were put into our house lights at the time. And what this did was every time the sun would set and we'd go in and we'd watch telly, which is where LEDs are, or we'd turn on our house lights, or in the last 20 years, scroll through our smartphone, that still sends light signals to our ancient circadian rhythm, our ancient body clock. So this body clock can't distinguish between artificial and natural light. So what it's doing is these little artificial suns that are all scattered around our house or our workplace after sunset is still telling our body clock that it's evening time, that it's daytime, and to keep cortisol level high and to not have high levels of melatonin, the sleep hormone. So our bodies are now believing that we're in perpetual daylight. There is no darkness anymore because the light signals aren't stopping after sunset, which they used to do. So we have to think ancestrally and go back to how our ancestors used to live to be able to mimic what they saw, which is darkness after sunset. So we do that by wearing the glasses you're wearing now, by changing some of the lighting in our house, by powering down electronic devices 1 to 2 hours before bed. So our circadian rhythms can actually understand what time of day it is and to produce the correct hormones to allow us to sleep better.
Right. It makes so much sense when you say it, and yet we don't think about it. I mean, the three of us do and people listening do, but up until we stumbled on this information, it just doesn't occur to people. And when, I think anyone who's interested in their health, they understand, like, okay, if I eat like ultra processed high sugar foods, that's going to be really difficult for my body because that's not food found in nature. I should eat real food. Everyone's like, oh yeah, totally, that makes sense. But we don't take that next step and then apply it to all of the other things that our body is communicating with.
Yeah, it's so true. It's that whole thing of what you don't know, you don't know. And there's probably tons of other things that as humans we don't know are impacting us from a really negative standpoint. I mean, it's only until recently that we weren't even thinking about EMF radiation, like 5G, Wi-Fi, 4G, cellular towers. And that's really allowing people to start waking up now to, well, blue light is actually on the EMF spectrum. EMF radiation, like what I've just discussed there, is on that spectrum, and it's all impacting and interacting with our cells in a way that the human body has never had before. Like, we've evolved for millions of years, and the systems that have evolved within us biologically have been around for that length of time as well. They haven't just suddenly evolved in the last 30 years. They've been around for millions of years in us. And now we're almost creating an environment where they've evolved that isn't conducive to how they would function optimally. It's like building a car to ride on tarmacked roads and then taking it down a mountain. It's just not going to work. The environment is very different. But what we're doing in this day and age is we're bringing out these technologies on this electromagnetic spectrum that human bodies just aren't used to receiving. And we're almost like this experiment now of like, well, let's see what happens in the next 30 years, like we did with smoking. Let's see what happens in the next 30 years, like we did with refined seed oils and low fat diets. And it's only because like LED artificial lighting and the advent of smartphones and backlit LED devices in the last 20 years that right now we're starting to see the detrimental effects, not just on us as adults, but on our children as well.
Yes, and they're getting their screens younger and younger, and they're holding them closer and closer to their faces. I mean, I remember as a child, it's like you were like, you got to be 6 feet away from the TV. And we're all like, why?
Yeah.
No one had an answer. They're like, that's just the rule.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Or you go blind, I think it was, or get square eyes.
Square eyes. That was an Australian thing. That's great. That's funny. Because now they, like their little faces are so close up to them. Something that I love that you guys did is that you built, and this was also out of necessity, I guess, but you really built the company on top of education and on top of teaching people about this. So I think it's really interesting because you've had such amazing growth. Even just to stay focused on the blue blocking glasses, which I'm wearing. And it's like people were ready for it, but at the same time, like, I'm still outside of this circle, the only person I know who wears these. Like, when I go out in my normal life, like, and have meetings with, I was on a committee at my children's school, and we did Zoom meetings at night through the winter, and I'd rock up in these or go to, and they were like, what is that? Why? So I'm just curious, like, how you see that education trajectory playing out in the public sphere as it's coming out of like the little biohacking corner that it's been in. It's growing, but there's still so much more room to go.
Yeah, there is absolutely. There's not enough people talking about artificial blue light and its impact on sleep, and I think there's a long way still to go on that. You're right; it's how we started the company, because when we did come out with the blue light blocking glasses that we designed and launched, we had a massive education piece to let people know that, first of all, blue light blocking glasses exist; they're a thing. We had to let them know that artificial blue light is bad after dark and it is impacting your sleep. And then thirdly, had to educate them on the actual wavelengths that they needed to block. So it wasn't just a case of they could buy any blue light blocking glasses. They needed specific tints, specific lenses that would block it. So that was kind of how our journey began anyway. It was always education first, because it was such a young industry. And I even think it is now, 8 years on, more people are understanding how it impacts sleep. But there is also that reluctance for people to let go of technology. So they don't want to sometimes believe that it's impacting them. I do find that a little bit, because it's how we connect with everybody now, right? The world is so digitalized. They don't want to give up their smartphones, their laptops, their TV. And there is still an element of ignorance to the fact that it is impacting their well-being and their sleep. Then you have the others that are ready to listen and ready to understand and adopt principles like circadian-friendly lighting and artificial or blue light blocking glasses to block artificial light after dark. And then the others that I think is going to need more education and more touch points. It's the classic principle, isn't it, with marketing, that they say you need at least 12 different touch points before someone can understand something and absorb it. So there is still the journey to be had. And also, we're battling against big tech brands. They don't want people to sleep. There's that famous quote that supposedly, I don't know if it's true or not, that came out from Netflix, where their mission was to stop people going to sleep. And that's why it's got that binge culture, where they want you to stay up and keep absorbing, because the longer you're awake and the more that you're on technology, the more you're able to be marketed to and absorbed, and for you to absorb more information from whatever message is being pushed on whatever platform. So there is a bigger piece at play here, really, from my standpoint.
Yeah, I think on top of that as well, I think it was Netflix that said that sleep's their biggest competitor.
There you go.
So
oh my God, Netflix.
I know, so that's not great from that standpoint. But the thing is, to be able to reach people, there's got to be a level of them wanting to help themselves, right? It's like fitness, it's like healthy diets. These people aren't going to be told by you, me, Katie, anyone else that they need to wear blue light blocking glasses after sunset, or they're going to have, metabolic issues when they're older. Because one, they look at it and go, well, I feel like I'm sleeping okay. Two, why would I want to wear those silly glasses and not watch all the colors on my favorite TV shows? And they look at it and go, well, this is just nonsense. The mainstream aren't talking about it, so it's woo. Those are the things that sort of come up with the masses, and you've got to want to change. And we've learned over the years that we can educate and we can put information out there that explains the science, the evidence behind how these devices will help you from a longevity and well-being standpoint. But if you're not ready to listen to that, then you're really knocking your head against a brick wall, as they would say. I think one of the pivotal moments of education moving forward is probably aligning the brand with trustworthy sources that are in the mainstream culture at the moment. So like celebrities, for instance, trying to get them on board and talking about these issues, because a lot of people that perhaps aren't ready to be helped will look up to what these idols are saying and be able to at least start the conversation. Like the big one is there's a big guy in the UK, Simon Cowell. People in the US know him, but he does all the
Oh yeah, he judges all the talent shows.
Yeah, the talent show, like American Idol, that type of thing, but in the UK. And he's now started to wear red lens, blue light blocking glasses on the shows, because the lights are giving him migraine headaches and disrupting his sleep. But when he wore them, there was no publicity that he came out to do that because he had any kind of involvement with the company. But because he was wearing them, the press, the media started picking up articles on it. Well, why is he wearing these glasses? And it starts the conversation. And I think those are important moments moving forward if we want to allow everyone to understand what the, biological impact is on artificial light, on our health and well-being, these people at the top need to start the conversations and then have brands around them and educational hubs around them that then continue that conversation and allow it to make sense to people.
Yeah, that really makes sense. And I think that's true. I've been thinking a lot about how to, what are the ingredients that we need to shift a paradigm? Because I think right now people are like, oh, all right, like maybe I'll like blue light, whatever. And they see it as like a health tip, like cold plunging or something. And it's really, to me, so much more fundamental than that. It's like if you get into why light matters so much and how our bodies really work, it's a completely different way of looking at human health. And then once you look at human health differently, you look at the whole universe differently. So my like big passion project is like, okay, so what are the elements required to make it a paradigm shift and not just a tactic? And I think the science obviously is an important piece. Like you need the scientific research, even though this is ancient, as you were saying, just how our bodies have worked since the dawn of time. But what I think is missing is the storytelling. I was listening to that podcast, the telepathy tapes. I don't know if that got popular in Australia, but it's about how many nonverbal autistic children communicate with each other telepathically. And where am I going with this? Where I'm going with this is that there was a scientist who'd been studying that for years and years, and nobody would really pay much attention to her. And this documentary producer came along and turned her work into a podcast and turned it into a story. And 1 week on the podcast charts, it beat Joe Rogan. Like it was downloaded like a bajillion times. And I was like, oh, the science needs storytellers. And I think like Andy and Katie, I think that's what you are. And then as you were saying, like the more and the more famous ones we can get, great. But it's telling the story in a way because then people can absorb it into their lives. Whereas just throwing studies at them doesn't land the same way.
Yeah, 100% right. You got to be able to talk about, you need to be able to, from our point of view, understand the studies, read them, and then translate them into actionable sort of items that people can then incorporate into their day-to-day life, rather than sort of saying, this study showed that, the statistical significance in this, that, and the other was whatever. Like no one cares. Like, let's be honest. It's more like saying, there's a specific banding of light. It's found in your laptops and your house phones. It's going to disrupt your sleep. You got two options: go and live in the middle of the field and throw away your devices, or wear red lens blue light blocking glasses 2 to 3 hours before bed before you start using them. And I think it's sort of, when you're talking there, another thing that sort of came to mind is a lot of the audience they're into this type of thing, whether it be blue light blocking glasses, whether it be red light therapy, whether it be cold plunges, whatever the holistic protocol may be, is they're already sick, right? They've been sick. They've had health issues themselves, and they know what it feels like to, number one, be failed by the institution, big pharma, whatever it may be, but they also understand what it feels like to not be healthy. And they use those two things in combination, those two failures, to then look at alternatives within, holistic medicine, well-being, maybe ancestral practices, to really, really get their health back on track as almost a last resort sometimes. They've tried everything else has failed. And then when they start doing these basic, easy to incorporate holistic measures like grounding outside barefoot, watching the sunrise, wearing blue light blockers before bed, maybe having a cold plunge if they've got arthritis, things like that. Maybe they're doing red light therapy, really easy protocols. They soon realize that being healthy isn't very complicated at all. And it's actually quite easy to do if you're prepared to change your life very dramatically from what you've been told and how to be told to live your life. And living your life as close as you can to nature and as close as you can to how we lived ancestrally has profound effects on one's well-being and getting healthy or even maintaining health. But the big thing for us is we want to be able to reach people before they get sick. It's great to help people recover and great to help people live a more fulfilling, healthy life by these ancient protocols. But how do we reach the people that are healthy already, or the ones that are starting to go down the slippery slope of you're not going to be well in 10 to 20 years time because you're eating refined seed oils, you're not exercising, you're not lifting weights, you're eating a very refined processed diet, you're not blocking blue light after dark, you're not outside enough. How do you then tell those people that, well, in 20, you might feel great now, but in 10 to 15, 20 years, you're going to feel like the other people that are with us now that are healing from, lifelong issues caused by, eating badly or not managing their blue light. I guess what I'm saying is here that the people that are well now, it's like eating McDonald's every day when you're 16 until you're 20. You're not going to notice really much difference at all. You'll be all right. You'll probably be a bit overweight, but maybe you exercise a bit as well. But if you continue to eat like that for 20 years, you're going to have major metabolic syndrome and major metabolic issues. And the same's true with light. It's people go, well, I'm falling asleep fine. Okay, great. Well, how's the quality of your sleep? Are you tracking it on a Whoop or an Aura or another tracking device? No. Well, how do you know if your REM and deep sleep are good? Because it doesn't matter if you're sleeping well, falling asleep fast. If you're not getting the restorative deep and REM sleep that your body needs to recover and clear out the dead and dying damaged cells, over time, that's going to have a compounding impact on your health and well-being.
Yeah, it's so true. And I hear people and they're like, oh, I'm okay. All right. I'm going to get healthy. And what they think that means, it never includes light. And it often includes taking supplements and eating vegan. I'm like, okay.
We see that too much. I know. I think that's the default setting for getting healthy, isn't it? Or they go the other route and they take on too much. They try to take on all these different practices, do an ice bath every morning, go for 20-kilometer runs, and they take on so much that they actually can't do it day to day. It becomes too much. It's not sustainable, and then they give up and they go, nah. Being well, it's too hard, or looking after my well-being, it takes too much out of my time. I'm not feeling that I am unwell right now, so I'll just carry on as I am. And that's the message that we're trying to put out there as well. It's not complicated. It's just a few simple tweaks, a lot of them free as well. You don't have to invest in these big expensive products. Some of them are just getting out into the sun in the morning, or changing a bulb, just switching one bulb out and putting a circadian-friendly bulb in the lamp that you're sitting in the evening. They're simple things, but they really do change their well-being.
Yes. And I try to hammer that message all the time. Like, it doesn't have to be complicated, and small little things, especially when it comes to light, make a huge difference. Like just throwing on those glasses, going outside in the morning. Like, it doesn't need to be a major life overhaul. It makes such a difference. And I have, over the years, like, I have yet to meet anybody who started wearing blue blockers and didn't notice a difference. Like, I have friends who are like, they're like, oh, all right, I guess. Like, I really should get them? I'm like, yeah, you really should. And then they, like, the next day, they're like, oh my God, I slept so much better, like, that night.
It's that instant as well. That's the thing. It's crazy. And it's like this whole biohacking, this whole sort of quantum science, when people want to try and holistically get healthy, right? It's very much a spectrum. You could be at the beginning of it, you could be at the end of it and be the ultra biohacker, like, Brian Johnson, Dave Asprey, people like that. But, it's fine for an individual to be anywhere along there, okay, on their journey. And the big thing is where I would start off is I would look at it from a point of view of what would I like to improve in my life? And that's what we did. That's how we founded the company, right? We looked at our sleep and said, how do we improve this? And what can I do that isn't conventional to improve my sleep. Okay. So maybe someone says, my sleep's not great. Okay. Well, wear blue light blocking glasses 2 to 3 hours before bed and watch the sunrise, and your sleep will improve. Someone could say, I've had arthritis for years. What could I do that isn't conventional to help? Maybe I'm going to have an ice bath once a day. I'm going to get in there and have an ice bath and feel amazing. Maybe I'm going to try red light therapy to help with it. Maybe someone suffers from migraine headaches, so they change the flickering LED light bulbs in some of their house lights and wear light sensitivity glasses when they're working on a computer. It's kind of looking at your current life and going, am I optimal? And the answer is always going to be no, right? No one's going to get to that 100%. It's just impossible in the world we live in. But where would you put yourself out of 10? How do you feel in the mornings? How do you feel during the day? Are you crashing at 3 p.m? Are you struggling to get to sleep? Little things like that. Pick one that's a nuance in your life and go, how can I holistically do something to make myself feel better, and just try it, because you're not going to lose either way. It's not as though you're taking a medication, a pill that may have some profound and unwanted side effects. You're only going to try these things and go, oh, you know what, that worked for me, or you know what, cold plunges aren't for me. I literally, my body cannot get into an ice bath or something like that. So maybe I'll look at red light therapy instead for my joints. So it's kind of looking at it like that. And I think a lot of people, like what Katie was alluding to in alternative health, biohacking, wellbeing, quantum science, I think they bite off more than they can chew too quickly. They go full, I don't do anything, to full Dave Asprey in like a day. And it's just not possible, because you've got to have 150 supplements and 400 hours of red light therapy a day, which just isn't practical. But there's so many cool things people can do just to like make those little incremental 1% improvements, and it will compound over time. It's like investing money, right? If you do 1% more every week, in 2 years you're going to be up at the Dave Asprey sort of level. Or you may go in 2 years, I'm fine at 20% because I feel great, and that's all the time in my life that allows for it. Because rather than biohacking 24 hours a day and sleeping, I wouldn't mind playing with the kids or the grandkids, or going out for a dinner with friends and stuff like that, which is all fine to do. Have that odd glass of wine if that's what something you want to do. Life is still there to be lived, and biohacking just needs to be incorporated into it to just optimize that time you've got on this planet. So we're aging well. We're not, adding 10 years of, oh, I'm going to be sat in a nursing home for an extra 10 years. Brilliant. That was kind of not worth the extra 10 years I did biohacking. You're going to be living the way we're living now into old age, and living well and being mobile. And that's what biohacking does for you.
That term reverse aging has come up, right? Where it's like the chronology rolls on, we're not going to not get older, but yeah, our bodies don't have to decay in the way that we thought they did. And we don't have to be these crazy biohackers in order to support the process. There's so many things to do. And I've been seeing lately, I think everyone should do whatever they want. I don't care. But these gurus who do all the things, right? People get turned off, and they're like, I'm not doing that. Like, all this health stuff is nuts. And I saw a post recently from a young woman. I think she works like in Silicon Valley or something. And she was like, all right, listen, I talked to one of those health people, and I guess they're not all crazy, because I've been like turning off my TV and going for more walks. And I don't know, she had a few things that she did, which were all really good, basic things. She's like, and you know what? I actually feel a lot better. She was sort of like begrudgingly acknowledging that the health freaks maybe have a point on something. But that's what I loved, is that you don't have to be crazy. My friend Kelly Ritter did a post recently. She called it like barefoot and bougie. And she was like, you don't have to be like an outdoorsman or like an outdoorsy person, like living off the land to benefit from this. Like, just take your shoes off sometimes. Yeah. And still like have whatever kind of life you want.
Yeah, that's super important, and that makes it relatable, makes it easier for people to comprehend that, don't have to be a mad scientist and, obsessive to be able to get healthy. And, that's super important. And, I think another topic that's well worth sort of covering as well is a little bit about red light therapy as well. We're starting to see, different kinds of light can be used for so many different things. Like blue light's great to keep you alert, blocking it helps you sleep. Green light shown in studies to help with migraines and the symptoms of migraines, it seems, which is fascinating. But red light has been shown, and the most studied frequency of light, to have a profound effect on all sorts of different situations, like, from skin appearance to joint and muscle pain, to weight loss, to sort of skin conditions like eczema, psoriasis, sleep. It's absolutely fascinating. And one of our top selling products in red light therapy, and our most top selling product, is our red light face mask. It's so interesting. Like, it's utilizing visible red light at 630 nanometers, the most studied for reducing the signs of aging, and near infrared light as well. And that's been incredible for tens of thousands of people in terms of how they look physically. Yes, that might not be a health benefit, but it's a mental health benefit on aging, the face.
It sure is.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Katie's a great case study. She uses the red light face mask like 3 to 4 times a week. So maybe you could talk to the effects that you've seen when using that
and
product.
I wanted to bring that up because we actually haven't really covered. I'm always wanting people to sleep better and feel better. And I was like, we actually haven't talked about how all this makes you look better. And I'm not going to pretend that doesn't matter to all of us. So Katie, tell us how like red light can make me look younger.
Yeah.
Really?
And look, it doesn't. There's nothing. There's no shame in saying how we look matters to us. It does. Like Andy said, it's your mental well-being. When you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror, do you see the person that you feel? And if you don't, there's a disconnect. And that does play a role on a lot of people's well-being. And it's been something I've had to challenge as I left late 30s and moved into 40 the other month. It's a big transition, and you feel a lot younger inside than how you look. But equally don't want to go down the route of doing other procedures that maybe aren't very holistic, or, I want to sort of stay within modalities that are going to be okay for my well-being long term as well. And red light therapy has been fantastic for that, because like Andy said, the two frequencies, the near infrared and the red. The red light, that's the color that you see. That does all of your surface level concerns. So any fine lines, wrinkles, sort of any imperfections, any sort of discoloration, your skin tone and texture. It's great for that overall surface level appearance. But what near infrared does, and this is the big one that really helps with the anti-aging properties, near infrared goes right through to your muscles and through down to your joints. And it is so good at relaxing the muscles. So if you think about relax a muscle, what that does to the skin, it then relaxes the skin, which then smooths it out, which is then reducing the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles further. So just by relaxing the muscle itself, it can have an effect visually on the surface level appearance of your skin, because there's other procedures out there that are all tailored around relaxing muscles. We know what those are, those injectables. It's the principle of just stopping the muscle getting so tight, because when it gets tight, it's pulling on the skin and creating those creases. But you can do that holistically with red light therapy, just relaxing it and doing things like gua sha, to sort of keep that muscle relaxed, and then your skin will follow suit and won't be so crinkled up, which will then reduce the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. Again, it's a very simple principle, but I think a lot of people don't realize that near infrared does that, and then have to, in their eyes, resort to some maybe injectables and things that possibly aren't suitable long-term for their well-being. So near infrared is a great alternative for that.
Yes. And it's really like what we were saying earlier. I've been thinking about this lately, like the difference between reverse aging and anti-aging, right? And when you do chemicals or you inject things or you do surgeries, it's like you're fighting your body, and it's going to wear off, and it's really expensive, and then you got to go and do it again. And whereas when we utilize light therapy, phototherapy, when we harmonize our body and like everything you just said, relaxing the muscles naturally, the benefits are compounding over time. Like our bodies are getting healthier and better, and we look better.
Yeah.
But underneath, like we're not adding chemicals and trying to change ourselves.
Exactly that. And it's exactly that, not changing yourself. You're not wanting to look like a different person. If you go and have certain procedures done, you might look like a different person. It doesn't even look like you when you were younger. It is a completely different
No.
person. Whereas what I think
Yeah, it's
just
weird.
yeah, right. It is. And a lot of us just want to look fresh and like we've slept.
Yeah.
And you know that the effects of time haven't taken its toll on our appearance. And we just want to look in the mirror and see reflected back at us who we feel inside. So, and it's actually quite confronting. I've heard some, you know, quite sort of challenging stories from people that have gone under procedures, and then it's actually had a worse effect on their well-being, because yes, they might look younger, but they no longer identify with the person that's looking back, because it's completely changed the structure and it doesn't look like them anymore. So yes, they might have reduced fine lines and wrinkles and, you know, might look a bit younger. It's not how they looked when they were younger. And therefore, it's still that disconnect. And it's always that disconnect. It doesn't feel authentic. And then when you don't feel authentic, you don't feel true to yourself. And that just impacts so many different areas of your life. And there is so much you can do holistically now for not just your well-being, but beauty as well. You know, just skincare products themselves, just checking the ingredients in them. You know, some of those aren't great for the body, you know, it's the toxins that are in them and the overload that's going on the skin. But, you know, I question sometimes whether some products actually contribute to aging. I don't know. That's not something I've had proven, but it's things that play in the back of your mind. You know, it's a bit like the medical industry. You know, they want you to keep taking medication. You know, it'll have a little bit of an impact to make you feel better, but you need to keep taking it in order for it to have long-term effects. And
yeah, they want us medicated in front of Netflix.
Yeah, exactly that. Yes, and then lathering on skincare products that we think are making us look younger, but actually it's aging us. So
yeah, and then going to get Botox because we're all we look wrecked.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is a better way.
Yeah, there is, and there's free ways as well. Just, you know, getting out into the morning sunrise and sunset. That's the best time to be out. You know, even if you're not going to go and do red light therapy with the panels, at least get the beneficial frequencies in the sun naturally outside of the peak UV periods for your skin. That's great as well. The morning sun and evening sun.
Yeah, there's so much we can do. And I liked what you said too, you know, about the authenticity piece, because what I have found is, you know, taking this route that we're talking about, where we learn to understand how our bodies really work and to support that, it makes you feel happier. It makes you feel more powerful. It makes you feel like, oh, you know what? I belong on this planet. I'm not just like spinning out through some weird, like pre-made synthetic reality that I'm just gonna hobble through until I get sick and die. Like I think it, you know, there's a spiritual element to stepping outside, you know, and as you were saying, like wanting to understand sunlight and darkness cycles and support our lives that way and wean off technology, especially at night. It's like there are not a lot of forces that are supportive of that. They're working against us. And so, but when we connect with it, it's like, oh, this is what it's supposed to feel like to be alive.
Mm-hmm. It's very true. It's very true. And there's nothing wrong with the modern world. There isn't, you know.
Yeah.
We're blessed to be in a time where, you know, technology and advancements in anything in the world are happening at such a rapid rate. And we're here to see that. You know, that's great. We shouldn't take away from that. It's just not letting it overrun us, remembering where we have come from and the short time that we have been as humans on the planet, and making sure we blend the both and use the little hacks that are available to us to live in the modern world while still kind of remembering where we've come from and who we are at the core. And I think there's the opportunity to have both. There really is, you know, otherwise we'd be advocating not having smartphones, not having TVs, not having laptops, and disconnecting from everything. We don't advocate that. They're fantastic. We're able to have this conversation now for the very reason there's technology here. We're just advocates for the glasses that you're wearing to protect you whilst you're on the call to us. So there doesn't need to be a fear-mongering thing where it's like, forget everything in the modern world. It's just using it with intent, not being consumed by it, picking the moments in your day where you are on social media and maybe disconnecting the rest of the time, and then just making sure you're looking after your well-being whilst you're in the modern world. And it really is as simple as that from my standpoint anyway.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I like the modern world.
Yeah.
I like living on the grid. I have no plans to leave. Okay, so I mentioned earlier at family dinner tonight, I told my children, I'm like, oh, I'm interviewing the founders of BonCharge tonight. So we have lots of BonCharge stuff in our house. So they all knew what that was. So I made them all come up with a question for you. So while we're on the red light, I'll start with my older daughter, who she just finished her first year at university. And at Christmas, I let her bring the BonCharge sauna blanket back to school with her. And her friends were like, what is that? It's weird. And then they all wanted to borrow it. But she said she started going to the gym a lot more than she used to. And she would come back all shaky, and she would, especially on leg days. This is what she was saying at dinner. But then she would put the sauna blanket around her, and she said she would feel so much better. So she wanted to know why.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a great question. And it all comes down to recovery and how light can be used to penetrate deep within to the muscles. So when she's been in the gym, she's a female, she's going to be working her lower body constantly. Like, that's just how females do it. Like, guys work on the chest, the girls work on the legs and the glutes. So she's had a hard day in the gym and she's had a good session. She's going to have all that energy sapped out of the muscles. She would have pushed them to the point of, failure, so she can grow those muscles, which leaves them feeling a bit wobbly and jelly-like after an intense session. So the way infrared sauna works is it's different from red light therapy. So it's not near infrared and it's not red light, it's far infrared light. So it's used for heating purposes. Now, when you go into a normal sauna, like a cold sauna, it heats the air around you. So it just sort of heats the outer part of the body. Whereas what the far infrared light does, it penetrates deep into the muscles and starts to heat within the muscles. It starts to raise the temperature internally. And what studies have shown is that when we apply heat, not cold, after we work out, that enables the muscles to start relaxing, more energy to be produced in the muscular system. And when there's more energy produced in that system, we start to recover faster. And as a result, those shakes will stop a lot quicker because we're warming those muscles, providing more energy for them to heal quickly. And she'll come out of that sauna blanket and just, feel like she can walk again normally, which is something that wouldn't have happened that quickly without utilizing far infrared light for that sort of internal heating process of the muscle.
Cool. Thank you. Okay. That's the clip for Millie.
Yeah.
All right. So then my youngest, her question was, how do you get the orange glasses orange?
Oh, it's quite a process, actually. It actually takes about a few hours per lens. It's basically, to keep it brief, it's a constant dyeing. So it goes in and out of a bath, I guess you could call it, of dye, and it sits within there for, say, 30 minutes. You pull it out, rinse it, and it just keeps getting repeated until it gets to the potency that's needed. But ultimately, it is a sort of a dye that takes place in a little bath. It's quite a cute process.
But you don't just have one bath for one pen. Yeah. It's not, our lab has like multiple baths with multiple glass lenses in there.
So the lenses go in the bath.
Yes.
Yeah.
They go in the tint bath.
Yeah.
And then they cook in there for probably about 2 to 3 hours. Then they come out and then they go into a spectrometer. So the spectrometer tests the frequencies of light that pass through the lenses and the ones that don't. So if we pull it out and we aim for 100% light blocking from 400 to 550 nanometers, which is the melatonin disruption zone according to the science. And if it's at 98% or 99%, goes back in the bath for a few extra minutes to cook a bit more, then it goes back and it's tested. But 99% of the time, we know the exact time that each lens needs to be within the tint bath to achieve the 100% blocking between those frequencies. So yeah, they have a lovely warm bath in a lovely solution, and then they come out looking like yours.
That's so funny. That was a good question, Twyla. I didn't actually know that. So so it's like the clear glass absorbs the color,
Yes.
and then depending on how long you leave it in, all the way up to 100%.
Yes, and if you leave it in for like an hour, it would look like paler orange all the way up. If you left it in for like 10 hours, it would be bright red and you wouldn't see anything bar red. But you have to time it just right. It takes a lot of experimentation, but we managed to have the recipe now that works really well. And the tint is developed in partnership with our lab partner as well. So it's proprietary to our glasses, which is really good.
That is so cool. Okay, that was a good one. I didn't know that. I love thinking of all the little lenses in
Really
their bath.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
Well, I should get the 11-year-old to do the podcast questions going forward. So, my son, he's 16. He didn't have a question, but he wanted to say thank you for using. I don't even remember what they're called, but the thing that plugs in. He's like, he liked that it was the kind that you can use that it plugs into anything. You know what I'm talking about? Like where you go to charge it. What's the little piece that sticks in called?
Oh, on the phones, is that what you mean?
Yeah, or on the night lights. We have all the little clip-on night lights.
Oh yes, yeah.
That you plug in to charge them. Yes. That you can see how technical I am, right? I'm like the thing that plugs in to charge it.
Okay.
He was happy because he could use any plug and it charges.
Yes, it is good.
That was his feedback. That's all I got from him.
Nice. Well, I'm glad. Yeah, again, look at him spotting all these little things.
I said, are you sure you don't want me to double check that I'm not overreacting, making you wear orange glasses and turn your screen red all the time? He's like, no, I believe you. And I actually noticed a difference, Mom. I'm like, okay. And then Twyla also wanted to know where you got the name BonCharge.
Oh, do you know what? That took, a year to 18 months? That was a mission. That was an absolute mission because we wanted a name that reflected the products that we currently had, but also the vision of where we're going as well. So it all comes down, basically BonCharge means good energy. So we're principled around the fact that we harness the good energies of nature and then try and block the bad energies of the modern day world. So it was all about good energy, but it was just a lot of brainstorming, a lot of troubleshooting to find a name that worked. So yeah, nothing glamorous really. It was just me and Andy bouncing names around until we found one that worked. So I wish there was a more polished story.
No, that's a great. I mean, good energy. That's a good, and it's a cute little, it's a good name. It's a good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you like it.
You did a good job. Yeah. No, it lands, and it's funny because whenever I work with people who, like my podcast producer or technical people who don't really know anything about the content of what I do, they're just there to help me. A few months in of listening to all of the interviews that I do and editing all my stuff, they're like, okay, send me a link for those glasses.
Got him.
Yeah. So I remember I said my podcast producer, she wrote me back. She's like, they're not cute. And I was like, okay, try this one. And I sent her BonCharge. She was the ones she was finding. She's like, I understand why to wear them, but they're not cute.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, BonCharges are cute. So I don't know if that was you, Katie, or what, but this woman had a trend level that she was not willing to go below, even to save herself from the effects of blue light.
I'm here for that as well.
So she was happy to
If it was up
find
to me,
those.
they'd all be looking like lab safety goggles. So
Yeah.
got Katie to thank for them looking cute.
Yeah, I thought maybe. I was like, oh, Andy did this with his wife. Maybe that's why his are so cute.
That's
Well,
So yeah, I just wanted to wrap up. So I alluded to this earlier, but I really do think that entrepreneurs play such an important role in the progress of society, right? Because, what you identified in order to start this company was a problem. And now you're built a product to help to solve that problem. In order to sell the product, you need to educate the public on that problem. And so we all work together. And I just want to say that because I coach a lot of people who in the health and wellness space, and they just want to help people and they don't want to charge any money and they don't want to start. They're like, oh, the business stuff. Oh, I don't know. But I think it really matters. And I think it's a really important, crucial piece of creating a healthy culture to have companies that are rooted in good stuff. And so I just wanted to say that because I know it's hard.
oh, thank you. Yeah, it's but you know what? It's something you believe in and you're passionate about it. And
Well, I really do love partnering with you guys, and you run a really tight ship. Your company is really well run. Your marketing is good. All your stuff is good. And I think that matters. And you're modeling how to do that in a way that has integrity and that is overall, contributing to our culture and to our society. And so good job. It was a pleasure to have you both back on. And to everyone listening, if you want to dig in more, I made Andy go really deep on on how to build a successful business in our first interview. So circle back and listen to that one. But thank you both. It's such a pleasure.
This has been the Quantum Biology Collective podcast. To find a practitioner who practices from this point of view, visit our directory at quantumbiologycollective.org. If you are a practitioner, definitely take a look at the Applied Quantum Biology Certification, a 6-week study of the science of the new human health paradigm and its practical application with your patients and clients. We also love to feature graduates of the program on this very podcast. Until next time, the QBC.